one's me. Number two is my daughter. I'm the alpha male. Never forget that.
Dude, is it a weird feeling being man of the house? Like, is that like an odd feeling? Or is Autumn man of the house and you just kind of...
Autumn is. No,
okay.
she wants to dance. I only have 30 minutes to do this podcast. I have to go do the dishes after that.
Oh, do you? And then you have to make love to your woman. And that's an order. You're not allowed to do anything else.
And the headache shit doesn't work anymore, so...
So blink twice if you feel like, you're being like used and abused right now. Just
Mike, she's probably watching.
She's gonna poke her head in the door and be like, I swear to God, if you say anything. So yesterday there was an update on that Vanessa Guillen case. Is Fort Hood correct? That's where she was stationed out of?
It's always Fort Hood.
Right.
Yeah, Fort Hood's got a lot of issos going up the chain of command.
That's what you get when you get named after a Civil War general or a Confederate general.
So, it was actually so they recovered remains a few miles out and within a walking distance of another body, but they didn't confirm yet that it was Vanessa Guillen that they found. Yeah, it didn't get a lot of media attention.
The family said it was.
The family said, but investigator. Oh, okay. So if the family says it did, that means the investigators didn't tell the media. They notified the family and didn't tell the media then.
Unless I read incorrectly, that's what it sounded like.
Which, I mean, like, that's what, I feel like a lot of investigators and, law enforcement, whatever, are trying to do is keep the media out of it, tell the family first, make sure the family's all notified before the media actually gets a hold of it. Because, having the family hear from the media that their daughter is dead now sounds a lot worse. Yeah, sounds way worse than, hearing it from actual, officials. But, this didn't get a lot of media attention with everything going on with COVID and Black Lives Matter movements. Well, I saw a lot more of it on social media than I did on the regular news. It was almost like a blip more than anything in comparison to other major news sources, not sources, but news stories, basically. And so I had to go through and actually do a full update on everything. And the timeline of this and the actual story is pretty scary. So she, a few months back, claimed sexual assault, and that went up the chain of command, correct? Did you guys hear about that? Yeah. And apparently, if you snitch, this is the results of that.
Yeah.
To me, what do you want us to say, dude? Like,
I'm just asking. I mean, like,
kind of the way it went down, or at least the way it looks like on paper. Where none of us will know what ever happened exactly, but
I mean that's what's fucked up about your military organizations, your police organizations, is that the reason why these bad people don't get reported is because it goes nowhere, or you get punished in an extra judicial way. So what's easier, maybe, we'll see how this unfolds, but my God, what's easier, having someone in your unit or whatever come under fire and have to figure out, investigate, and cover up or whatever a sexual assault, or just fucking kill the person and hide the body and hope it's never found.
I mean, that's one way to get rid of your problems.
Evidently, that's the mentality some people like to take, and it makes you wonder. In the other cases, in the other instances that we have not heard about, that we don't know about, that will never see the light of day. How many rapes have occurred in the military and the police forces, for that matter? Because what we're seeing here is that there's a price to pay for coming forward. It's terrifying, and I feel bad too, because I'm not trying to sound callous or anything like that, but man, maybe I'm too cynical. Maybe I'm too I don't know. Maybe I'm too nihilistic. But whenever I feel bad for this girl and her family, and they found how many bodies? 3, or it was
3.
near a body.
Yeah, it was near a body. I know that one of the suspects had committed suicide.
Yeah,
I read about that. It's scary. It's scary to see. I want to welcome hello mother for supporting your son right
hello,
now.
mother.
Also, I would like to see Cameron Knoll for joining us right now, and Mr. Hogan. Thank you very much for joining us. Cameron Knoll just posted that he said that she didn't report the actual thing. She did not.
Yeah, maybe we should have actually researched this a little bit better.
Well, see, that was kind of the point I was trying to make with, like, maybe I'm too nihilistic or whatever. Like, I feel so bad for that family and the, like, on an individual level, but you hear about this and you're just like, oh, it's crazy.
Well, there was
another run of the mill story.
Oh, did that happen again?
Again, yeah, and I feel horrible that my natural reaction is that, but maybe I haven't been too invested in the story. It's just like it's where does it end?
Sensory overload. It's sensory overload, dude.
Yeah.
When we're getting the news shoved down our throats about, I think there now 5 different lynchings across the country. There were initially huge protests, and well, no, they're not protests. Now they're riots because they're looting. But wait, once we found out that it was white nationalists and bad undercover police officers that were starting the looting and the riot parts, now
turn that off.
Now they haven't really been covering the protests very much, which are still going on today. I mean,
oh yeah, and that's just
the sensory overload. So you're getting all of this stuff crammed down your throat, and it's hard to keep up with all of the new stuff that comes to light, man.
So she didn't report it. I want to correct this. She didn't report it up the chain of command. She notified her family that she was being sexually harassed. That's actually, and then she went missing within a couple months is whenever she actually went missing. But she did notify her family. It didn't go up the chain of command, so I'll correct that.
Okay.
Right. It wasn't reported up the chain of command. That being said, though, there's been multiple suspects. Apparently, one of them has already killed himself. So this is going to be a wide open investigation. And so, going back on what we were saying, this whole situation, once the investigation opens up, if there was any reporting going up the chain of command, how does this work out, in the end? Who is the one most at fault here? How does this work? I'm not 100% sure. Is it at the top? Is it somebody at the top who gets in trouble, or is this just a very bad crime that happened between constituents?
Well, on the outside, without doing any research, just from what we know now, with the fellow that committed suicide and there's 2 other suspects.
Yes, 2 others. Actually, yeah, they just arrested somebody yesterday, I believe. It was, yeah.
It's really weird. Like crimes like that. Like there's 3 of us here right now, right? And if one of us were to say, "Hey, let's go sexually harass, that girl or whatever that happened," if one of us said that, that's a mental fucking leap. Your brain has to be formed differently to hear that and say, all right, cool, sounds good, let's go do that. Correct. Like that's not just a common thing. So is it like were they part of a group? Were they part of something extra that we don't know about? Or was it just some weird peer pressure thing, or maybe a birds of the feather sort of thing,
maybe a hazing that went wrong.
Maybe, and it's
and
it very much could be.
If that's a more traceable thing. If it is a hazing, you can see a more institutional punishment for that. But other than that, if it's just, what it's like with the police and the infiltration that we have with white supremacist groups and the KKK and whatnot, is it something disturbing like that, or is it just 3 fuckwads that decided to
It's the best way. It's the best way to put it. And I think right now, because there isn't there
dipshits that are worthless human beings, and I'm glad one of them committed suicide, because you should not be on this earth. So good for you for ridding us of you.
Well, it's actually right here. What it's showing is of the people involved. One civilian was arrested. There is a military person that did commit suicide, and I think another individual was arrested as well in the case. So basically, we don't know still to this day. It's been 3 months, and we don't know what happened. It's still where it's at. But they informed the family that the remains have been found. So okay, so that's basically all that we're at right now. When I was reading further and further into it, it's a dark thing that really happened. You know, there's sexual harassment involved, and then such a blatant attack just to kind of like hide themselves from the situation. It's still a very dark situation. Second thing I want to talk about here as we open up this episode is Ron Jeremy. So Dustin, so he's guilty of sex crimes. Now this is the legendary Ron Jeremy, who has like a 16-inch penis or whatever it is. I mean, he's got like the ugliest porn star you have ever seen in the history of ever. Like I just don't understand how that man was so successful. But I mean, you got a big dick, you could pretty much take over the world.
Right.
Magnum.
You don't have to look good if you're a dude.
What's that?
You don't have to look good if you're a dude.
Yeah, your face doesn't even need to be in it like 90% of the time. So who cares?
Actually, if you shaved your beard and kept the mustache and gained a little weight, you could pull off the Ron Jeremy.
Oh my God, do that for Halloween, Dustin.
No, you.
Oh, me? Oh. Well, he's got the longer hair. He has longer hair than I do. You do a Ron Jeremy.
Your hair. It's like curlier and like more puffy, and you got the dark hair.
So funny man.
Just shave your beard off into just a mustache and get the hair a little longer, and then you could have a Ron Jeremy thing going on.
How many women have come forward now on Ron Jeremy? I know it's been multiple.
So just to clarify, he has not been found guilty yet.
Charged.
He has been charged and indicted with 4 cases.
He pled not guilty.
3, yes, he did plead not guilty. 3 cases of raping women and 1 sexual assault on the 4th. But by all accounts, it seems like this is another Weinstein type dude. Because another porn performer named Ginger Banks, who went public with her accusations against Jeremy back in 2017, after he groped her at an award show the year before, she claims to have spoken to at least 50 other victims.
Wow.
Yeah. I'll quote her. She says, "The stories are all the same. It honestly seems to me that if you met Ron Jeremy and he didn't inappropriately touch you, you're almost in the minority." So
Jesus.
Yeah, it seems like it's one of those. And for the most part, I'm not going to defend the guy. Not even going to try. Not going to say it was part of the times, but that's his mentality. I guarantee it is just, well, that's how we grew up. This was part of the time back then.
In the 70s, we
yeah.
So, oh God, yeah, and just like, and this goes right into the feminist inequality, women not being able to speak up, misogyny. It probably does. It goes a lot into all of that, and yeah, just
celebrity. To quote the greatest president ever. When you're a celebrity, they let you do it. Don't even have to ask.
Was that Donald Reagan?
Oh, yes. Donald Lincoln Reagan.
I want to say
Reagan. Oh,
I just wanted to say Bobby Blakely is watching us right now. Also,
hi, Mom.
Luke Killen, thank you for stopping by. And Cameron, I have the sickest vape clouds. Thank you for noticing. And so, Mason, you were saying?
It's just like whenever like with Ron Jeremy and that's how we did it back in the day. If that was like as innocent as maybe we can speculate, that they just grabbed whoever they wanted to in the 70s and 80s at the parties, and they're all on coke and doing whatever. But it's the same thing with.
For the record, none of us are saying that was okay back then at all. It's just kind of the way things were.
Yeah, if it was that, it's the same thing.
If it was that.
It's the same thing, grandparents when, when grandpa says the N-word, and like, oh, they just said that back in the day.
They're old and set in their ways.
We're not back in the day anymore. Sorry. We're not back in that day anymore. So you kind of have to adapt. I'm sorry that's how you did it 4 decades ago. We don't care now because it's just not that way now. So you can't do that anymore.
You just can't do it.
You should know that.
So welcome on Amanda Martin, Casey Hall, and Samantha. Thank you guys for joining us right now. Ron Jeremy's probably going to rot in hell. He will be forgotten just like Bill Cosby. We're going to move on. But this is episode number 108. The rockiest start of not doing your research on a certain murder case is the best way to start a new episode.
There's not a lot of research to do yet. I mean,
that is true. That is true. But of the 1 or 2 topics that we could have gotten right, we got wrong. She didn't report it upwards. She told her family. Got to get that correct. Anyways, my fault. So, episode number 108. This is your host, Mike. To the left of me, from my point of view, is Mason, and below is Dustin, who's always on the bottom. He is a power bottom, and he lifts us all up in the heat of the moment. And that's
a lot of power.
And so this one right here, what we're going to be talking about, as you guys know, the Texas Workforce Commission has taken away the job searches right now because of the uptick in the cases of COVID here in Texas.
They were about to be reinstated in 5 days.
So they're going to reinstate them in 5 days?
They were. Because they initially, it's a federal mandate.
Yeah. And so now they're pushing it back.
If you're on unemployment, the federal government requires that you do work search requirements, and it's up to the states to determine how many. So whenever the virus broke out and the Texas Workforce Commission decided, you know what, we're going to throw you a solid. You don't have to do any work searches. Great. Thanks, buddy. Give me more money, maybe, but whatever.
Because everything is closed down?
How about that? So they were about, they announced it last week, I believe it was, that on the 6th of July, they were about to start requiring work searches again. And then now, here in the last 3 or 4 days, they've reversed course and said, nah, okay, if we're going to shut the bars and all down, we'll
You're going to have a lot more unemployed. That's correct. You know, I'll give you my personal story. Today is, yesterday. Oh, wow, it's July 1st. Yesterday was the last day I was officially employed at the Hyatt. I went from furlough to laid off. With this company not looking at any future at this location, any future pickup for the next 4 months, actually, just because of everything that's happening. So it's been a really long time of not doing anything, and now you're actually doing job applications because now you got to look elsewhere for employment once this is all let up. I mean, you just had the bars shut back down, and restaurants are back down to 50%. All of that being said, the issue now was the work searches. So everybody's preparing for work searches, and then it's like, well, okay, so most of your restaurant workers can't go back to a restaurant, so we just assumed they're going to take away the work searches again, and they did yesterday, actually. Is when they TWC made that announcement. So basically this episode is going to be about an update in the state of Texas on COVID-19, some of the frustrations that are surrounding it. And I really wanted to not just talk about the debates that we see on social media all the time, the impacts that it's had on a lot of businesses. At the same time, your essential workers. I think that's a really, really important topic for those that have been working for the last 3.5 months. And that being said, what are you guys drinking?
Wild Acre, Texas Blonde.
Oh, Wild Acre, Texas Blonde.
They have a lot of good brews.
Because if Deep Ellum's going to go, Wild Acre cannot.
Yeah, that's one of the ones that needs to stay. Wild Acre, Martin House. Oh goodness, there's another one over there. I'm blanking on so bad. Hop Fusion's another good one. We really need Turning Point to stay open as best they can.
What about you, Dustin? What are you drinking?
Oh, I have a lovely Irish Jameson whiskey and a very lovely Deep Ellum IPA in a Deep Ellum glass because...
Rest in peace.
If any of my Funky Town Fermatorium friends are watching, man, I miss every one of you.
So I want to welcome on here as well right now. I want to welcome JR, who's joined us along with Anel. And Cameron said, you can always join the Army. Go to Fort Hood. So also Tico, thank you for
Thanks, Cameron.
joining us as well. Cameron's actually been in the Army for, gosh, I'd like to say 10 years now. So, I mean,
I think we're all too old to join the Army.
Not yet. No, I believe there's a cutoff. And I don't think we're there yet.
We're too old to join the Marines for sure.
For sure the Marines, but I think the Army and the Navy is like 34-ish.
34, 35. I don't know.
Well, I'm not going to do it anyway.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not either. So
I am also drinking a Twisted Tea, which is my sweet beverage guilty pleasure. Mason can't stand it. It's too sweet for him, but I love it. It's absolutely amazing. So I want to get on, Dustin, what you were saying, Deep Ellum. So we were scared. And I think we talked about it a little bit on a previous episode, probably, 5-6 episodes ago. You were scared that it's coming, and I've been to the one down in Fort Worth, and that was definitely a booming business. You guys were doing fantastic over there. Absolutely. And everything was going so well. But I mean, like for a young growing business, you were definitely fearful that, you haven't stuck your roots in deep enough yet to thrive through such a hard.
That was part of it. And just the fact that it's the secondary location and they weren't producing any beers during the quarantine, or just rather the shutdown. So it was kind of, hard to stay on the map and then justify reopening and paying all the money to get all of the necessary foodstuffs in stock for a reopening, because they weren't doing any carry out because they couldn't sell beer to go because, Texas state government's fun. So it was just, I figured it was coming down about a month ago whenever I stopped hearing stuff from some of the higher ups. And then it went completely radio silent. And then here a couple weeks ago, we were talking, I think, Mike, because Mason,
we were.
You had just heard recently, hadn't you?
You what?
You had just heard recently, or I think it was last week when we were talking about it, or maybe the week before.
I only heard the other day. I'm part of this craft beer Facebook page or whatever.
Okay.
And, I texted you that's when I saw that they had posted that it was shutting down.
Yeah, and I'd found out a couple weeks ago, but nothing was confirmed. And my uncle, who lives out that way, he asked me, "Man, are they selling that brewery out there?" I'm like, dude, I just don't know. Don't know what's going on, because first they started putting out articles in the paper about how the property was up for sale, and then he even told me, I went and looked on the normal property sale websites that are out there, because he does investing and whatnot, so he's pretty plugged into that scene, and he said he couldn't find the building at all. So I don't know about that, but yeah, I finally got a hold of my taproom director, and it's
grim news. It's grim news.
Yeah.
Can you just say the words? Can you just tell us that we're not a thing anymore?
Yeah. That was what I was wondering. It was like, I just want to know if I have a job to come back to. Well, that's all I want to know.
And just like whenever I talk to my boss, they're always optimistic, especially when you're that high up on the food chain. You're like, we're gonna get past this. We're gonna survive this. We're gonna survive this.
AKA, I'm gonna get past this. I'm gonna survive.
Well, no, I believe this full-heartedly 100%, just like our favorite bar. We don't even have to mention it, but I mean, you have certain bars and restaurants that are refusing to shut down. One, everybody goes, "Oh, that's so ignorant." We're trying to stop the spread of the COVID, which is okay. That's true. But number two, and Mason, you and I talked about this. I get it. You don't want to lose your business. And I get it. I do. Because at the end of the day, that's your moneymaker. And they do care. A lot of these small businesses do care about their staff. They care about the well-being of others as well. But what they're afraid of is losing everything they got because of this. And I get it.
It's a double-edged sword. You can't win with it. And maybe if you were, a multi-billion-dollar company that never paid a cent in taxes, you would get a nice little write-off and be good to go. But instead, it's the whole idea is people pissed off about small businesses losing everything and losing their entire investment, their entire this thing they built up. But then you have the government that's billing out things the size of Amazon, Walmart, like things that massive, getting or what do they say? Small businesses with up to 500 employees. Is that a small business in your world?
Technically,
in today's day and age, yes.
500 people. No, I'm sorry. If you are employed, or if you're employing 500 people against the people like Dublin Square that are individually owned and have
for sure
12 fucking servers and kitchen staff and door guys. Who's getting the money? And the people getting the money are not the ones that necessarily need it, and that's why whenever things like this happen, because there is a pandemic going on, there's a very disgusting, horrible virus going around, and if we keep everything open, it's going to get worse. But if we shut everything down, it's going to get worse for these small business owners. So there's no winning, and this is why, again, back to my cynicism and my nihilism, here we are.
It is, and you hit the nail. You hit the nail right on the head. You said that it is a double-edged sword, and whenever Mary and I were talking about this, it was yesterday, because I made a bold prediction that the next major corporation I feel is going to take the downfall is going to be GameStop. I feel like that they're going to be the next ones that are going to fall with everything that's happening. That was just my prediction. And then after that, we were talking about a lot of these businesses that were shutting down, and I said that is not. It's a fucking shame that it's happening. It really is. I mean, like Dustin now, working with Deep Ellum, now he's got to look elsewhere because it's happened, and he's affected by it. The guys who are running the place are affected by it, and I understand the whole resistance. Real quick though, I do want to say welcome to Rob, John, and Sam. Oh, Sam's already heard. Oh, sorry. Sam said correct. She said that is correct, Mason. The answer is not to shut everything down indefinitely. That will do far more damage than the virus will. We should be able to slowly reopen, and people take personal responsibility in wearing a mask in crowded spaces. Staying home when sick.
There's the inherent problem with that.
I know. Oh, we're going to get into it. You are absolutely right. She's absolutely right. And practicing social distancing. But people suck. So there's that. And that was the end of her. And now it hurts worse. Now it hurts worse because we decided that we wanted to be the leader of the nation to open first. And it was like, well, what did you think would happen? He wanted to pinpoint the protesters or the young people or whoever, right? That was I didn't even listen.
I don't know if you've seen it. It circulated around Facebook ad nauseum this morning, but the people that want to blame protests for this current spikes that we're seeing, how do you account for the non-spikes in places like Boston and DC and Washington, where there have been abundant protests and yet no spike?
Germany had protests.
Right. John just asked if he can scream and spit on our counter. And I said, yes, John, you very well can go. Yeah, because the Bow Club 7-Eleven lady.
Yeah, no, I do want to talk about some of that a little later on too. So save some of that for later. But
go ahead, Dustin.
Oh my God, I just lost my train.
Oh, my bad. That was my fault. I totally cut you off. But you were
that train has sailed.
That train has sailed.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh,
welcome to the void.
Yeah, it's gone. Can we just sit with dead air for like a solid 5 minutes?
Yeah, it's like with the reopening, like the southern states.
That's what it was. Texas, Arizona, Louisiana, Georgia. Those are the places. All the ones that opened the first are the ones hitting the huge spikes.
Absolutely. Because what happens is
like saying if we ran off this cliff, will we die? I don't know. And Texas was like,
let's find out.
Faster than y'all towards that cliff.
The thing is,
to be fair, I don't want to just completely bash one side, because there is something to be said about keeping the economy going.
Of course.
And like your sister was saying, Mike, we can't just completely shut everything down. There's too many important infrastructure things that need to keep going. There are such things as essential workers. Now, whether or not we should be taking better care of them, that's, we'll talk about that later, apparently, because we don't want to talk about it now.
And the answer is yes.
No, that should be the answer, but
an emphatic
anyway,
yes.
There's too many important infrastructures that need to keep going for us, even if we're shut down, to keep going as a society. So we can't completely shut down. And I understand that they want to keep the businesses going, to keep the economy running and keep us afloat, keep the income stream coming in. It's important. But if you're going to hire experts and not listen to them, then it was a waste of money, and
it was a waste of time.
Then we should just keep doing what we're doing anyway and not shut anything down. I mean, and I've heard.
No, I was going to say, can we just have a social contract like, hey, we're going to open a lot of things up, but you just have to do one thing. If you could just please possibly listen to the fucking doctors. If you could please fucking listen to the fucking doctors, we will open everything up. Listen to the fucking doctors.
You know what? I think this whole situation, the last month and a half since Memorial Day, ever since we reopened, sorry, libertarians, but I think this completely nullifies any single political argument you ever have, because what the whole point of libertarians is part of the social contract, that people are going to they're going to have common sense and they're going to do the right thing. Clearly not. Where is common sense right now? My freedoms. I'm going to spit on your counter because you won't sell this to me. You have to have a mask on in the store. Well, I'm spreading more germs right now by just talking. You can just sell it to me and I'll leave. Put on a mask. Like,
yes, because Greg Abbott called me and said, as the manager of that specific 7-Eleven, you have to make sure that everybody's wearing a mask, and if you don't, let them blame you. Okay, so
did he execute Order 66 for you too? I got that hologram and it freaked me out, but I did it.
I want to welcome on right now Ryan Moon, who's joined us this evening along with Spencer and Jose Rosales. Thank you for checking us out. Samantha said, # I'm embarrassed to live in Lake Country. I agree with you there. But don't worry about it. It's just a few bad apples. Anyway.
Oh, yeah. It's just a few bad apples. And don't worry, we're not going to do anything to clean out the bad apples. They
live there. They're fine. No,
we're just going to say that they're there.
Right. Sticking with business, because, before we get into the whole controversy about wear a mask, I don't give a fuck. Wear a mask, all right? And if you don't, fuck you. Anyway, so the point is, though, is sticking with the businesses. I feel that as a leader in our state, okay, because when you lifted the restrictions the way you did and told major cities, you can't enforce that. You try to override them on, you can't enforce masks, you can't do this, blah 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 blah. And then there was a big argument about that between the city mayors and the governor. Whenever there's that kind of thought process, this is what I believe. And with Thx For Nothing, we talk about the human psyche a lot, and we're actually really good at doing that. I don't know if it's just a weird way that we release a lot of our thoughts out of our head to explain how everybody else thinks. But as a leader, when you tell the people it's fine, go back out, practice social distancing though, but it's fine. And then you double down on it's fine. Well, then the people of your state are going to go, well, I guess it's fine. And they're going to go out. And they're going to do stuff. The
governor's not wearing a mask. The president's not wearing a mask.
Everything fine. And this is where, and I'm not even going to go into Trump. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to talk about the leader of this state. And with that being said, I know now he's backtracking a little bit because he went, whoa. I feel like, and he said in his own words, he said, I felt like people didn't follow, just safe social distancing. They felt like it was okay. And I was like, because of the way it was brought upon them, that it's fine. You can go out. Yeah, everything's okay. And then it got worse, and somebody commented, is it fair for these businesses to shut down after 3 months of being shut down? No, it's not. It's not fair, and this is one of those things, once again, where it's like life's not fair. But at the same time, we don't want the businesses to close. Nobody, this is where it becomes a liberal or a conservative thing. And this was never supposed to be political, because watching these businesses shut down is a sad fucking thing to see. But it's like, we got to get through it. We got to do it right. I'm shaking my desk. We got to get through it. We got to get, to the other side of this and let it subside. And that is the best thing that you can do. I want to welcome Holden, Hannah, and Ryan. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thanks for nothing.
Good evening. Do we have any stats on, these other countries, that have flattened the curve, that have, a steady decline in cases, and what their businesses shutting down? Do we have any stats on? I haven't looked personally.
No,
I've only heard businesses so much, but give me.
I've only heard of more a U.S. tale of it that apparently in this country where we have just unending capitalistic freedoms, so much is on the line that when something imperative like a closing happens in order to enforce public safety like that, people are losing everything. But it seems to be a very unique problem for a very unique country. So, is this an economic thing that could be resolved with? I'm not using the word socialism because I think that's an overused word, but if you have the government propping up, more with whether it be tax cuts or whether it be policies or what have you, just propping up these smaller businesses that aren't able to prop themselves up, certainly.
And that's what matters.
Is that going on in other countries, like, what you see in Germany or France or Australia or, South Korea and all these countries that are seeing, these declines in cases, and yet you don't hear about the public misery. You don't hear about, people losing everything because we have to close down.
Right.
And again, we don't need to close everything down indefinitely, but if there's an instance where, as we saw, or as it should be now, which we know is not the case, for a lot of bars around here that are not closing down when they're mandated to prevent, which I don't even think is in total the cause of the spread. I think it's more so everyone being very extremely stupid and pretending that this isn't a thing.
Yeah. I think that plays into the bars situation as well. Everybody being stupid.
Yeah.
I'm not fully blaming the bars. There's a whole lot that go into it. I'm just saying that I don't think that closing the bars is a bad idea. I do wish, however, that a few other things that were shut down initially were shut down also. Why is it just the bars?
Yeah. But no, like, is this a unique? Because it seems that way with the numbers that we're seeing, the massive spiking in the cases, and I think I did read that Texas is number one in recoveries and number one in as far as fewest deaths with the coronavirus. But again, is it unique to America that people are losing everything that they invested into these small businesses and people are going broke? Or I don't know. I wish.
And it's frustrating
because total. I don't have it though.
Yeah, and I get it, because like when you ask those questions like that, it's frustrating, and like we can research it. Samantha just said that Sweden has the lowest rate of deaths and was never locked down. They had a nursing home outbreak that is widely reported in the media, but otherwise they fared well with their capita.
But did they do so because they actually listened to the professionals and? Yeah.
That's the second part. She said, now, were they socially responsible during the pandemic? Yeah, probably more so than Americans.
Yeah.
Because here we made it political. We made it an argument.
Why?
I don't know.
Because everything's a political opinion. Everything.
Yeah. I know you said you didn't want to get into the one specific person, so I'm not going to bring it up. But That's the reason
I
why.
know that plays a lot into it. And I mean, like, but it's a rhetoric that's just been overdone. And so like, it almost gets to the point now that you just ignore it. Like, I ignore it. I just go, yeah, well, you know what? I'm just going to go wear my fucking mask.
But it builds up to a point that you almost can't ignore it. Like, why we get drawn into it too. Like, you know, I'm not speaking for you guys, but I'm myself extremely liberal, and I can get political with things that are not political. And it goes along with, you know, that libertarian sort of. I've gotten to plenty of arguments about this, about like the nature of wearing a mask. Like, well, what the government's role is or isn't. The government's role is, in fact, to keep the public safe and healthy. That is a role of the government. To what extreme, I don't know, because I'm not a lawyer, so I don't have the exact legal definition of it. But it almost gets to a point where you cannot ignore that. If everyone makes it political, even if one side's right and one side's wrong, you still give in to the fact that it has to be political. How do you
Absolutely.
avoid that? How do you escape that?
I don't think you can. And you know what? And I feel like that we've said this how many times, you know, like kill Mark Zuckerberg because he started this whole social media pandemic. And the thing is that the two things that, you know, our parents were taught, and, you know, the parents would joke about us, there's two things you're not allowed to talk about: religion and politics. Well, behind a keyboard, it's really fucking easy to talk about both of those.
That's all you talk about.
That's the only thing you want to.
You drink while doing it.
That's the only thing you want to actually talk about. I want to welcome Shyler and Sarah. Thank you guys for joining us this evening. So just topping off, like, you know, last thing about this is that what the United States proved in the beginning of this virus is they can take care of the American people. They proved it. They could pump out money and make sure that everybody's going to be okay. They proved it. So that being said,
now they're not so sure.
What's that?
Now they're not so sure.
Well, yeah. The one thing that's not going to happen is the one thing that's not going to happen, and it's not even like a political divide or anything like that. There's not going to be a second shutdown, a nationwide shutdown. They're not going to do it. I think they suffer. They suffer if they do it, and the country suffers. And they don't want to do that, so they want to.
Screwed either way, because if
so
they
this
don't
is where
shut down and a ton of people die, they're screwed. If they do shut down and a ton of people are mad because I can't get my hair permed, they're screwed. I mean,
oh God, yeah, no, don't even remind me of that. Fuck the haircut thing. The haircut thing. The fucking protest in Lansing, like, oh no, that's fucking dumb. But what I'm saying is that they proved that they could take care of the American people. I think the argument becomes, and this is just almost what the nation was founded upon, is we are able to take care of ourselves. And there's something about that, like, I don't want anybody helping me because I can do it on my own. And it's almost this mentality, like, you know, worrying about what other people are doing. Well, I don't know their lives. I don't know who they are. I don't care, because this is my life. This is what I do. Hi, Michael. Thank you for joining us this evening. So, and that mentality is what causes this political divide. I think that's
part of it.
It's an empathy divide. And I think that's the best way to put it. I think that it's almost simplistic.
You know how, like, whenever video games started becoming super popular, and our parents, you know, were just like, don't play too many video games. That's not real life. You know, it's going to make you violent, whatever. I have this strange and actually horrific sort of theory about what Americans, and I think, again, it is uniquely American, which I don't know why. It's almost like we view life as, you know, other people are non-playable characters. So if, you know, we see what is it, 100,000 deaths now, or 150,000 in the U.S.
In the U.S.
135, 150,
130,000.
Okay, that's a big that line up that amount of people and walk down that line and be horrified and amazed at how many people you're counting that are not. And this is where I get very existential here, are no longer of this existence anymore.
Okay.
You are not alive. You're not. You're dead. You're gone. You're never coming. You're never to talk to that person again.
And my response to that is, I don't want to do that because that's a really long walk.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the point of it. And so it's like we read these numbers and it's like non-playable characters. Like, yeah, I don't know that person that died.
Doesn't affect me.
That's sad. But if you were to say, like, as a business owner, like legitimately, you put the ultimate wager up and you say, you can open your business up, but I'm gonna shoot your brother in the head, and like you have the gun to your brother's head, and you're saying you can open up, or I'm going to kill your brother. Would you open up? Would you say, well, ultimately the economy needs to prove on, persevere? You wouldn't do that because you're seeing with your eyes someone physically holding a gun to your brother's head, or whoever. It doesn't, your cousin's head, your sister, mother, father, whatever. But whenever it's some person you don't know is going to be one of the big numbers in the total deaths, if you don't open up, and you're just like, oh, that's sad. That's very sad. But ultimately, the business has to prevail. There's no accountability almost to it. And
yeah, I agree.
The ultimate question asked, I think, with all of this is, and I don't know why, and this goes down to people not even believing the scientists and doctors. The ultimate question always asked whenever people doubt all this that's going on, well, do you know anyone that has the coronavirus?
That right there, and that's pretty much what I almost, unless Dustin, is there another point you want to bring into this this portion of the conversation?
Sure. Yeah, as far as your NPC kind of deal goes, it's fine and good whenever, yeah, like you're saying, it doesn't affect you. But what affects me is that we in this country have 130,000 deaths, and worldwide there are a total of 512,000 deaths.
We carry almost a very, very large percentage.
Over a fifth of all the deaths worldwide.
Yes.
I know.
When is this going to be cut into perspective? I mean, are they going to have to? Are they waiting until our personal deaths are higher than the rest of the world's just because America's got to be the best?
Oh,
is that when we're going to start taking this seriously?
I think you need to sit down with Americans and explain to them what the definition of death is. This is not. Oh, he went night-night. He went night-night. No, they're not here. They're no longer in existence. Their place in your life is gone. You will never ever speak or see them again. Does that stick to your head? What death is? Is that exactly there now? And they don't care. They don't care until it happens to them.
Oh, I know. And I've seen one estimate, and I don't necessarily think that this is the end-all be-all. Trust me, I'm not just trying to be all, whoa, the sky's falling. But I've seen one estimate that based on the way that the spikes have been going on throughout most of the South, there's going to be a lot more of spiking happening throughout the rest of the country because of what's going on down here and throughout the South.
Travel.
And not only that, but we might, sorry, everybody. We might even.
Oh, gosh, Dolly, I'm so sorry.
Right. Did that affect you? I'm so sorry. But we might be heading into.
Joint's doing hella good.
Yeah. We sadly might be heading into World War II level deaths of Americans.
Yeah.
And that's
there's an
good.
argument that, and there's an argument that it's not real. And I got in another fucking social media debate about it. What was it, a few days ago? And I actually had an old friend of mine, Casey. She reached out to me during that argument and private messaged me. And she wanted to talk about, how if it doesn't impact, and this is kind of basically what you guys are saying, if it doesn't impact you personally, then you turn a blind eye to it. It's almost like I'm just here for myself. I don't worry about other people. So I see what I see, and that's it.
There's an old poem referring to the Nazis. And first they came for the Jews, and I said nothing because I wasn't Jewish. And then they came for the Gypsies, and I said nothing because I wasn't a Gypsy. And they came for the Bolsheviks, and I said nothing because I wasn't a Bolshevik. And then when they came for me, there was no one to say anything because we had all kept quiet, and it's too late now.
Don't speak for me.
Was that Anne Frank?
No.
Oh. I don't know. That was
not everything is Anne Frank.
And frankly, I'm tired of you saying so.
So Casey wanted to let me know. I'm going to read this out real quick here. Hey, I know this is really random, but I just wanted to mention that back in May, my aunt, who lives in Tulsa, died from COVID. My uncle was completely asymptomatic, and that's where she contracted it. So if you ever want to bring that up, just wanted you to personally know. You now know someone who had a relative that died from it. Alone in a hospital, on a ventilator, and dialysis from organ failure and double pneumonia. So this is an impact. It really does impact people. And when I read that, it's like, if it didn't happen to you, basically she reached out to me and said, hey, if you really didn't know somebody that, actually had it here, somebody who it happened to. There you go. If you need further proof. Like, I didn't even need to know that. I didn't need to know any of that because I know it's true. But what's sad is that you have people that are like, hey, tell that to the holes in my lungs right now because I just survived COVID. And it's like, why are we pushing that down people's throats who are like, you're delusional. This isn't real.
Yeah, but I know a guy who got it. And by all accounts, it was a fairly mild case. But he's been recovered for I think about a month now, but he still feels super fatigued. He's still having to go back to the doctor to get other things looked at because of the ravages that the virus took on his body. He is not well right now. Even though he's recovered from the virus specifically, he's still not well.
I want to welcome on here Ismar, Keith, Marcus, and Stacy. Thank you guys for joining us this evening.
Thanks for nothing.
We're going to be wrapping up here in about the next 5 to 10 minutes. But I did see a post. Actually, it was Marcus that posted it. And this is actually an interesting thing. And it's talking about, I'm going to pull it up here. Don't mind the awkwardness for a couple seconds here. But it's talking about the essential. It's talking about the essential. It's talking about the essential workers. And this individual said, Dear Governor Abbott, I am one of many essential workers having to wear a mask to protect myself and others for my 8 to 12-hour shifts. It's important but aggravating. Stimulus packages are paying non-essential residents to stay at home. Meanwhile, and it goes through a long list of like essential workers, they all put their lives at risk and the lives of their families as well. If it wasn't for all of us, and if we all paused with the rest of the world, who would you turn to? Where's our hazard pay and bonuses? So this is where Mason said it earlier. Should that be the businesses that pay that? Or should it be a fair level playing field? Like I said, the United States proved they can take care of their American people in this time of crisis. They proved it.
Oh, they certainly made an attempt.
But they put the money out.
They put the facade.
So
that's right there.
In Congress, they're arguing about the HEROES Act. Still, I think that's still going back and forth. And it was
the Senate. It's been sitting in the Senate for like a month now because the House passed it back in May.
Yeah, and the HEROES Act was for the essential workers. There was a lot of bonuses.
There was a new provision in the HEROES Act that would include essential workers getting more relief.
Which they should. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that.
Why would a business that no, the only way that they can get away with not paying their workers more is knowing that their workers have nowhere to go. They can't just up and leave a job now. They can't say, oh, shit, there's a pandemic going on. I'm going to go get a better job so I can get more money. They know that. Now,
it's not just that. It's also that, well, if you get sick and you can't come to work, I've got so many other unemployed people that can just come in and take your job for less money.
And they, also what it came down to was the fact that not just that there are so many people in the field that you could go to, but also with unemployment being what it was, like think about all the people that were so frustrated that didn't get unemployment for weeks, that couldn't wait weeks, that because it took so long because of the website was backed up, or they didn't know the $600 in addition to their unemployment was coming, and which that kind of I think was a surprise for a lot of people. But also it's with everything tied to your job, like in your wages that you get every 2 weeks, and you're sitting there saying, okay, so they're closing down. Not I'll use Kroger for example, because Autumn
it's essential, right? It's essential.
That's essential, but not other things. And Kroger was not essential. Like that's not. I mean, you can argue that it's life and death because that's food and
it's groceries. I mean, yeah. I mean, I would say it's essential. Yeah.
But we're talking about the people working the fucking cash registers and cashing people out and taking everything curbside, and they did certain things like increase their wages. I think, oh man, $2 or $3 for a couple weeks. But
because the company can't
comparison to everything else, and I get the argument that people are mad that unemployed people are getting $600 more. But again, if your employer is telling you as a fucking cashier, and I'm not demeaning any job, I'm just simply saying that being a cashier isn't protecting the U.S. coastal shores from Godzilla. We're let's look at the difference here. So you're telling them you still have to come in, but it's not worth our time to give you this much more money for facing this virus and coming out and wearing a mask, sure, but you're still encountering 50, 60 or more people a day. And I would say yes, if you are doing that, even if you're a cashier at Kroger or someone that's working the fucking drive-through at McDonald's, you're still there. You're being asked to be there. Give them
and how much
money. Give them more money.
Absolutely give them so much more money. And it's almost like because with the freedom of capitalism, how much labor was cut, in the beginning of this whole entire pandemic, like McDonald's, Burger King, Taco Bell. You remember I don't know. So whenever I was doing Uber Eats or Grubhub, all that kind of stuff, you would sit in that drive-through getting somebody's food for 45 minutes because there's 2 employees working.
Yeah,
because they're trying to save on labor. And it's like you're refusing to pay these individuals any money in this time of crisis. And so now when they're looking up at the government and they're saying, hey, you're paying these people, and I get, well, I wasn't laid off and I deserve it too. That specific post, I don't think was saying, I hate the fact that people are laid off and are getting paid a lot of money. I think they're upset that they're not getting paid more while they're doing what they're doing.
Exactly. That's on the businesses that, like, do you not think, and again, I use Kroger and probably Walmart and other places like that as an example. You don't think they can't afford that?
Oh, they can. Well, I remember there was whenever I was doing Uber Eats, this must have been like 2 months ago, there was a Kroger commercial and on the radio, and it said, to those who work the extra hours every week, to those who came in at 4 a.m., to those who stayed until 6 o'clock in the morning, we have one thing to say to you guys: thank you. And I was like, that is the biggest middle finger in the fucking world. It's like, no, you know what? Thank yous don't pay my rent. Thank yous don't do this. Like,
oh, I'm so full on thank yous. Oh, I'm so full on all these thank yous.
Yeah, and Marcus actually just said he's watching it right now, and he said, to know that I could stay home and make more money on unemployment than my normal work week paycheck kind of pissed me off. Yeah, like, I get it.
Me too, buddy.
Yes, 100%. And some people are saying, thank God my company is actually paying me hazard pay. The problem is that that's not across the board.
No,
and that
should like we were talking
about a federal requirement.
I'm sorry, much like we were talking about with the libertarian ideals, a lot of that goes on the assumption of good faith, of common sense practices, and people just doing the right thing for no reason. But that's not the society we live in. We do not live in a society that encourages people to do the right thing, no matter what that is, because it's a society that's cutthroat, and it's all about making money, and it's all about more. We're never going to fix that.
Libertarianism is astrology for rich middle-aged white men.
Dude, that is actually really, I had never heard that before. That is actually incredibly accurate. Wow.
So with that being said, also Samantha said, you know, she works, you know, for a major hospital, leaving out the name, and they haven't offered hazard pay for them. But all of the employees that have been sitting home since the initial shutdown are guaranteed full pay until September 30th. So, I mean, the thing is that
good, I guess,
but not for them. And so that creates the divide. And that might add more to the frustration for not specifically this person, but I mean, for other people saying it's fake. Why? Because this isn't helping me, and I'm working extra hard and I'm not getting any other benefit out of it. And that is, it's a me mentality when it comes to that. But at the same time, you have to listen to that frustration and go, well, what about what I've done?
Well,
you gotta listen to it.
Wait until the spikes start hitting the more rural towns. Wait until that happens, because those are ripe for just completely spreading the disease like wildfire. Their hospitals aren't nearly as well equipped as the larger city ones. Your sister can tell you that. I guarantee it. All of the more rural ones are not going to be able to handle all of the cases, and that's the most frustrating thing, is that the governor includes a lot of those hospital beds in the total number of hospital beds, but that's not exactly the case. Also, anyway, back to the original. It's going to spread like wildfire throughout the rural areas. And once that happens, and then it really starts affecting people, especially the people that vote a certain way or believe that certain way, this is going to get a lot interesting and probably a lot worse before it ever gets any better.
Wait till Bumpkin Fuck Texas gets
Bumpkin Fuck Texas?
Bumpkin Fuck. No, yeah. Bumpkin Fuck. Wait until like Meemaw and Peepaw start getting sick from this, and then they hear Trump say, "Oh, this is a hoax," and go on. Like, dude, I'm not trying to get political here.
No.
It already did.
It's fine. It's fine.
Trump has fucking shot himself in the fucking face, election-wise, with this.
I don't know. I still don't. I'm not 100% on board with that.
I just think 4 years ago, but you know what? It certainly. And I don't want to say you're wrong, but we said a lot of the same kind of stuff 4 years ago.
No, I'm not saying just because like, oh, it's Trump, I don't like him. I just mean like this reaction, like when you start
terrible reaction. You're not wrong.
When you start getting the rural people seeing this like front row center, and once they start getting hit, and once again it comes down to that personal view of death. Like once you know the rural towns start seeing their grandparents or sick dying, and it doesn't, you know, you can get away with so much, but imagine seeing, and you see the president that you voted for in 2016 saying, "This is a hoax against me." I watch how many people say, "All right, nope."
Well, and you know, and I do agree with Governor Abbott on his first part when it came to the whole soft opening, and he was opening the counties that had 0 cases. Okay.
Yes, that makes sense. It makes sense. The soft opening itself is fine if you listen to the experts and pay attention to the numbers. And whenever that starts to kind of creep up a little higher than you need to be, maybe we should scale it back. But that's not even what we did.
No, it was an argument before the scaling back started.
Yes. Yeah. When we get hit super high with the amount of cases, and now let's just cut the bars. We're going to scale back the restaurants to 50%. We're not going to do anything else.
So I wanted to let you guys know before, because we're about to be wrapping up here. I wanted to let you guys know that we are also
wrapping up. We can't stop talking.
I know we can't. I know, but I have to get this shit in. All right. So, So we are also live on Twitch. That's going to be a T4N podcast, and YouTube also T4N podcast. Also, our Thanks for Nothing page, which is THX the number 4 nothing. Please follow us over there. Give us a like. We're going to be streaming live from there. I thought we were streaming live on all of them. Went and checked, and we are only streaming on here. So Mason, I was wrong.
Talk.
I also want to welcome on here Stacy and David. Thank you guys for joining us this evening as well.
For nothing.
But before,
also make sure you hit that like button and the subscribe.
Make sure you guys like and subscribe to.
Also follow us on Patreon.
That's it. Oh yeah. Oh well, I'm not on. Are we on? Did you do a Patreon?
Me, no. I
totally lied to you. I didn't do the Patreon part yet.
Oh, that's fine. I was just going off of all the stupid, follow us on Patreon. We also have a Kickstarter and whatever.
And also, join us on our Thanks for Nothing OnlyFans.
OnlyFans! Where
we do everything totally fucking nude. So that's...
I'm not wearing any pants right now, for example.
Makes sense.
That being said, Dustin, do you have a thanks for something this week?
Of course I do.
Oh, let's hear it, please. I would like to write this out so we can actually shout them out on the page.
Yes. Man, it's really kind of sad, though. I did want to talk about why we can talk about it next week, but why has there been such a huge uptick in all of the Karen videos?
Oh, yes.
Dude, it's insane.
Prime entertainment.
So many.
Prime entertainment.
Okay, so I'm reading from the article. I'm going to try to do my best to keep it as concise as possible, so sorry. Restaurant CEO Kent Taylor.
What the fuck was that? Sorry.
He started out with the restaurant back in the mid-90s. At the time, they had 5 restaurants.
I'm going to butcher you one more time. What was the name of the person? I started laughing at what you did before.
Kent.
Who?
It's not Kent Brockman?
No.
Kent Brockman.
It's also not Duffman. Don't worry. Kent Taylor.
Kent Taylor. All right. Go ahead. Just start. Hey, do you have a thanks for something? There we go. Go ahead.
Started out back in the mid-90s. They had 5 restaurants and 400 employees. It's the model of a mid-sized business, small to mid-sized business. Sorry, I know about your your small business specifics, Mason. He started out with them, and they grew their business from 5 restaurants to 600 and 400 employees to 75,000 and more. That restaurant chain is Texas Roadhouse.
Oh, wow. There's 600 of them?
Apparently so.
All in Texas?
I don't know.
I know it's not.
Well, then why do they call it Texas Roadhouse?
Kind of weird, isn't it?
I guess
Texas. Why do they call it Logan's Roadhouse? It's not in Logan.
We're going to get through this. Go ahead.
We're going to try. So they have, during this whole ordeal, been offering, they've been continuing to operate, including offering meals to go, as well as steaks that you can take and cook at home. They've been doing a lot of really good things, trying to help out, making sure things going well. They have, what's it called? Oh, Andy's Outreach, because their mascot is Andy Armadillo. He added $5 million to that emergency fund, which goes to all of the employees, should they need it, if they're needing rent assistance, utilities, funeral costs. Fridays had a similar program. I can't remember what it was called, but when I was working for them, they had a very similar program.
Yeah, it was called Endless Apps, and it ruined y'all.
Yeah, right. Typically, what Friday did was you could take a percentage or a certain amount from your paycheck, and it would go into whatever that fund was, and that would just help out other employees as they needed it. And this is the same thing. He personally added $5 million to that emergency fund, though. So, yeah, more importantly, my favorite thing, and there's two favorite things about this one bit right here. He said the company had ordered gloves, masks, and eyewear for all employees and began mandatory temperature and symptom checks. Now, he has decided to forego $800,000, which is his annual salary, as the CEO of a company. First of all, good for you, buddy, for not just raping the whole company for the coffers. Like, that's awesome. That's really cool. And secondly, that's his whole annual salary and bonus. And he's foregoing that entirely so that he can help out the restaurant or all the restaurants and their workers. So that, and apparently, as not a single employee has been laid off or had his or her pay reduced, which is insane.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Dude, thanks for something, Kent Taylor.
Thank you for something.
You are doing something right for whatever it is.
And I want to speak for all of us on this. When it comes to the businesses, I know we have a lot of political talk on here that goes liberal or conservative, and everybody pretty much knows that we're pretty liberal on a lot of stuff. When it comes to the sake of the businesses, there's a lot of heartache on all ends, and we should all understand that nobody wants to see a business fail. Nobody wants to see a small business suffer, because that just means suffering for more people. And that is the best way to top it off. So thanks for something, Kent Taylor. And thanks for nothing to all you assholes out there that aren't wearing a fucking mask. That being said, this has been episode number 108. This is Mike. Right alongside me is Mason, and right being the power bottom right below us is Dustin Hunter. I know Dustin is probably like on the top. I think you said that before, but you're my power bottom again, and I love you so much for that.
It's just different, because from my point of view on my computer, you, Mike, are over on the left, I'm on the right, and Mason's on the bottom. But if you look on the Facebook,
the
it's
Facebook.
Gonna be weird. If you look on the Facebook,
if you look on MySpace,
there's Mason and there's Mike, and then there's me down at the bottom.
Are you watching us while performing?
Hey man, how
That's
else
hot, bro.
do you think I can sleep at night? Like,
next week we're going to be talking a little bit more about the protests. Also having Adrian Neely on as well next Wednesday at 8:30. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, on Twitch as well, and on our Facebook page, THX 4 Nothing. Coming from us, thanks for nothing, everybody.
Thanks for nothing.